Hello. Wow. There's actually people in the chat. I am amazed. I thought I had that feeling of you come to a birthday party and you go like, hello, anyone there? Oh, I'm actually, hey, Amelie, nice to see you. You knock on the door and you say, is this the party started yet? Like, yeah, actually, it's tomorrow, Martin. You came the wrong day. I have a little bit that feeling today. And thank you so much for joining half an hour earlier. It's there is a good reason for this. I didn't just change it. I've had the same time for, let me think. I've been doing these Mondays and Thursday meditations since last year in, I think, February. So it's a year and a half. And I've always had them at 8 o'clock. I think I've missed, if you would combine all of them for this year and a half, I don't think I missed more than 10 or 15 times. And then it's always been something special. This summer I had a few times where it was good weather and I said, okay, this, instead of just stopping at summertime, we're going to have, I'll just say that I'll tell everyone it's not going to be tonight. So it's nice to change it up. And the reason that I wanted to change it was because, actually because I got this. This is, I've talked about this and I will be making a video about it. It's a really cool device. It's called an Aura Ring. And basically what it is, I don't know if you've seen these, but these are like smart rings. I'm super sensitive to have like watches on, otherwise you can have a watch or a band on, or you have these straps. And what they do is they measure your heart rate variability. It measures your heart rate, it measures what level of stress you have, and then it measures your sleep data. And then I can see patterns. I can see that if I stay up late watching something on TV, then I sometimes sleep worse. Not always. If I'm stressed, it can calm me down. I can see that if I go to bed early, I usually sleep better than if I go to bed late, so preferably around 9 o'clock. What I did notice was that when I had meditations on Mondays and Thursdays, I would almost always go to bed later because I'm sitting here with like really bright lights straight in my, I have one light here and one light here, and they're like really bright in my face, and they're daytime temperature. So I get exposed to all this light, and I'm sitting in front of a screen. There's there's an interaction, so I'm talking to people, and it's quite, for me, it's quite energetic in many ways. It's very nice. I enjoy it. But it's different for me than for you sitting there, where you can, if I would be listening to myself, I would just sit and meditate the whole time and listen to the conversation and maybe type something. So it usually would make me kind of awake. And then since I was very awake when we would finish 9 o'clock, sometimes I'd even finish like 9:20 or like quite late. That's why I started having them finish a bit earlier so it wouldn't be so late. And then I thought, well, if it's okay with everyone, let's just start at 7:30 instead, so we have half an hour earlier. I'm hoping that it won't cause any problems for people and that you can still join. At least Amelie is here, and there's someone else here as well. Every time I hear Amelie, I think of what is it called? Is it Amélie de Montmartre, or what's the name of that movie? Like, it's a really old, well, really old. I lived in France when it was released, I think. Was it called Amélie de Montmartre? I think that's the name of it. Anyway, it's a beautiful name. When we had our daughter, I tried to convince my my fiancé that we would name our child Sauterelle, because I think it's such a beautiful name. But I didn't get to name our daughter Sauterelle, even though it's a cool name. I'm named after the movie. Yeah, I almost thought so. It was, I could see my best friend's daughter. He's also Swedish, but we studied French together. His mother was a French teacher, and they named their daughter Amélie as well. It's a beautiful name. Oh, now it seems that lots of people dropped in. We'll see how it goes with having it this time. I think it will be, at least for me, it will be easier to keep going like this, because it was taking a bit of a toll. I've been focusing more on my sleep, since that's my kryptonite, my main weakness is my sleep. I'm having a hard time with sleep, and it's because of the pain in my neck. And that causes cortisol, and then the cortisol wakes me up, and the later I go to bed. Yeah. So this will be nice for me, and I hope it will be nice for you as well. Have you had any, I mean, Amelie, you're quite new. Have you had any, let's see, I usually meditate at 7 p.m., so I like the time. Oh, perfect. Do you have any, because have you been meditating for a long time, or are you quite new to meditate? I mean, you're new to the evening meditations, but what kind of meditation have you done? And how long have you been meditating for? If you want to share, obviously. If you don't want to, then feel free not to. I lived in France, by the way. I lived in Montpellier for 1 year. I studied at Paul Valéry, and then I lived in Rouen for half a year, and then I went a lot to Plumillage in what's it called, Bergerac. I think I spent probably a year in Plumillage in total. I miss France sometimes. It's a beautiful country. There's this like lightness to French. When you speak French, it's like poetry. It's just so different, and then you feel different when you speak French. Very interesting how the language syntax and how you speak is so different from country to country. So when you speak certain languages, it changes how you interact with people. By the way, the reason I asked if you've been meditating for long and what you've been doing is to see if there's anything you'd like to bring up or something you'd... Let's see. I've been meditating for 3 to 4 years, and I've tried a lot of different types. I like Vipassana and mindfulness meditation the most. Have you been to any... When people say Vipassana, many times they talk about Goenka Vipassana, even though that's not the same thing. It's like saying Scotch tape is tape. Scotch tape is a kind of tape that has become so generally... Scotch tape... No, actually, that's not the same. Vipassana is the term for Buddhist meditation, but it's been done so much by a man called S.N. Goenka and his Goenka retreats. So I call them Goenka retreats. Many people just call them Vipassana retreats, but Vipassana includes many, many different forms of Vipassana. But many times when Westerners talk about Vipassana, we talk about Goenka Vipassana. If so, have you been to any of the retreats? They're the ones that hold the 10-day retreats. I just realized something funny, because I'm sitting waiting for Amelie to answer, but maybe she's not even thinking about answering. She's just kind of sitting there meditating now. It's so fun how we have these like interactions online, and we don't know what... Well, you guys know what I'm doing, but I don't know what you're doing. No, but I'm going on my first retreat next year in March. Awesome. Yeah, they're really nice. I recommend the Goenka retreats to everyone. I say it's like it's going to a roller coaster. You go there and it's like this big thing. Everyone's talking, a little bit excited. Some people are there for their first time, and others have been there like 2 or 3 times. Some have been there I think I've been there 25 times, and then I stopped counting. I've been there a lot of times, and it's a really nice feeling, and they take care of everything. You just give away your stuff, and then they say, okay, this is going to be the schedule, and they really kind of build it up, and then you sit down and you listen to some guy, and like, I have no idea who this guy is, and he chants really strangely, and then you just go along for the ride. They take care of you. They feed you. They don't clothe you, but they do pretty much everything else for you, and then you just go to the meditation hall and you sit and you meditate. That's it. Oh, and you have to eat and take care of your hygiene and stuff. Except for that, everything else is taken care of. So it's really a nice experience, and it's very difficult to get that kind of time in meditation by yourself, because people don't realize this, but the centers I was at where we meditated the most, I think we had 15 hours or 14 hours, 15 hours of scheduled meditation. And then if you were serious, you would have an extra hour in your room. That leaves 8 hours of not official meditation time. But if you take away eating, going to the bathroom, showering, taking care of yourself, walking, and sleeping, it is very difficult to do anything for 16 hours per day. It really requires a whole system around you to do that. And even 10 hours, which is not really that much, requires a system around you to be able to do that continuously. Or you can make food and have it at home and then prepare it. But it's difficult to, if you don't have the experience, to get yourself to go and sit on the cushion. So it really is a nice place to go. Amelie, I want to have more knowledge when it comes to meditation, so I'm very excited how it's going to go. So I would just, like, one of the things, I don't know if you noticed, but I haven't been publishing any videos lately, and there is a reason for that. It's because I will be changing the direction a bit of the channel from what it was before. And I still haven't decided exactly how that's going to go. But what you're talking about, like, I want to have more knowledge. That is with what everyone starts with. We have this idea that I need to learn something. And then when I learn this something, then I will get better doing this meditation. If I do this enough times, then I will get rewarded by an experience and enlightenment, or I will change somehow if I keep doing this thing. In a way, what that does is that it takes away the responsibility from you. You see, the techniques, they train your mind. The word for meditation at the time of the Buddha was bhavana. Bhavana means to train and sharpen or practice the mind, to train the mind. That's all it meant. Today, meditation means a lot of different things. But it meant to train the mind and make it sharp and strong so that you could see the things that go on. But then you had to do something with that. Today, that's not quite how we view meditation. Instead, it's just this idea, especially Buddhist meditation, vipassana, is that you just observe. You're not supposed to do anything. You're just supposed to be equanimous, which means to be stable and not swept sideways by the things that happen around you, but you should be stable and be neutral. And this just doesn't lead to much. It leads to robotic movement kind of eventually, because you just move around and you get very controlled. But I've seen people do this for decades, and it just doesn't lead to where most people want to go, unless you want to focus on what's going on all the time and be so aware that you can snap everything that comes up. But it's not really what's talked about in the Buddhist text, or what we would consider to be enlightened, or what I call liberated. So instead of focusing on knowledge, and I am in no way criticizing you, this is like what 99.99% of people who do meditation think, because they believe that I meditate and I see things, or I experience things, and then I understand things. I have prajna, knowledge or insight. And you will meditate and you will experience all kinds of weird stuff. And some experiences are so outwardly that it just blows your mind. And it just, there's no explanation for it. I've experienced things that, yeah, it's just freaky stuff, cool stuff, fun stuff, scary stuff, sad stuff, happy stuff, all of it. And once you've had, like many people have one or two, but when you've had hundreds or thousands of those experiences, then you realize they're unimportant. They're just things happening. What we call knowledge, meaning that I understand, I've been through this, it's just glimpses where we're not distorting, and then it comes back, and we tie that into some experience we had. So I saw the light, and then I felt this peacefulness, and I just walked around, oh, I get it now. And you come up with some kind of story. It's not about learning or understanding something. It's about making a conscious choice to change how you relate to the world. Some of that comes through the meditation. Just by observing, you will have certain permanent changes, which is, again, what is promised in Buddhism, and what I really believe, and it's my experience, is that there are ways that you can change how you interact with the world, and it will make the world way more enjoyable to be in. Way more enjoyable. And one of them is that this perception, or the perspective, changes, and it feels like it disappears, but it hasn't actually completely disappeared. So that's the feeling of, I'm sitting here and I'm watching there. I can feel, I can't now, but I used to be able to feel like I am here and I'm looking at that camera, and I could feel the separation. In the beginning, you weren't even aware of it. But then you meditate and you can feel, okay, I'm here and I'm watching there. And then that kind of falls away. And all of a sudden, everything is just there. And you go like, whoa, non-duality, non-centricness. I can't feel any distance or any separation. You no longer have that perspective. Everything is just there. That is something that can happen through meditation. And what that does is that you no longer feel, if this is you, and it's like a rod. It's like a rod in the center, and then it goes out, and this is me. And things happen, and they push against this rod, and they tie into it, and like, oh, this is my parents. They have a really strong rod. This is the person I love. They have a really strong rod. These are the people I hate. They have a really strong rod. But when you go through these things in meditation, this kind of gets widened. So it's no longer this solid like this, but it is still there. That will make it much easier to move around, because now all of a sudden it doesn't feel so solid, but you still distort. You still have these pressures around the world around you. You're no longer, you're not fully liberated. Many people call that enlightenment, or I'm enlightened. And when I came home after having been a monk, I'm like, wow, like there's all these enlightened people here. They're talking about not feeling themselves. And then I'm like, wait a minute. That's not liberation or enlightenment. That's just the perspective change. Like if you can still suffer, if there's still difficulties, you're not liberated. Why do you walk around calling yourself that? You've just had a bit of a change, a shift, and there's so much after that. But when you have the idea that you're going to have some kind of knowledge or upgrade, or you're going to get a new perspective, and now you're having wisdom, so you can see things different from everyone else. Now you start separating yourself. I'm different. I'm special. I obviously don't think I'm special, because I would never think that. I'm so unselfish that I would never think I'm special. But people feel very special when they do this. Even though they don't say that, they feel different than other people. And that creates even more separation, but now it's a spiritual separation. And now we start having this idea of knowledge, or this idea that you can come to me and I can tell you something and you will get knowledge, kind of. This really is a path that leads nowhere. It's just confusing, and it just, you're going to be off on a road somewhere, like for many, many years. And most people just get stuck on that road, and they go looking for the perfect teacher, the perfect technique. If I can just find that magic bullet that's going to fix me, and if I can just shift my technique, and then something's going to happen. But they don't take responsibility themselves. It's not I that need to do anything. No, I should get a magic technique or a mantra from a teacher, and that will save me. Or the energy of my teacher is going to save me. Or if I do this special technique and I'm strong enough, dedicated enough, then I will be rewarded at the end by something happening. We actually discussed this on the coaching call on Sunday, the group coaching call. It was a really nice discussion. So, again, not at all any criticism towards you. I just advise you to look at that feeling that you believe you need to find some kind of knowledge. And you believe that if I find that knowledge, something's going to change. What I'm saying is you don't need the knowledge. There's very little you need to know. In fact, I think knowledge confuses, and it's like a trick of the mind, because the mind goes in and tries to analyze and understand. I had another really good conversation just, I think, a week or two ago with a client who's been meditating for many, many years, and he's extremely analytical and very intelligent, and he knows he should have a channel about meditation, because he knows much more about the techniques, about all the philosophy, and he talks to all this talk, and I just sit there like, oh, that's really interesting. It's so fun to hear you talk about this stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, that's really cool. But I'm like, it's completely irrelevant. Like, it doesn't mean anything. And he's just like, God damn it, I wish I could just like feel like it's not about understanding the world or life. It's about experiencing life, about being with life, not having this idea that, oh, I'm going to get to some place and then I'm going to be alive and live life. No, screw all that like interpretation, analyzing and all. It's just garbage. It's just people making stuff up and they're tying it to something they have. And whether it's true or not, it's relevant, because whatever you say is truth, I can find you someone else who says something different. Or I can come up with another explanation that is even sounding better than that. So instead of focusing on knowledge and trying to understand, focus on living life, of being here, of being alive, of seeing, oh, wait a minute, why do today I had at work, I was talking, I went to preschool after work with my child who goes to school. And they were having these, they stand up and they give reports. And I could see how insecure people were, how afraid they were of standing there, like, oh, and they're like doing these things that normally people think like, oh, this is what you do when I, but I could see how they were really like having this is me, and I can be embarrassed by doing the wrong thing. And why is that? What is it we are afraid of? Why are we afraid of standing in front of other people? And I'm not saying this to criticize them and say they're dumb. I'm just saying we all do this. Like, people have this idea that we need to protect this, that we need to have people think of me in a certain way, because if they don't, well, we don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm sure it's really bad. So you better know what you're going to do, otherwise something bad is going to happen. So looking at all these conditioning, social interactions that we have, and asking yourself, why Why do I, if you see, I'm assuming you're a girl or a woman, if you see a beautiful guy walking by or your partner, and then you feel like, oh, I feel insecure, but what if I don't look the right way or I don't say the dumb thing? Why? Why do we have that? Where does that come from? Why do we believe that we need to ruin this moment because someone walks by us? It's completely ridiculous if you think about it. And then when you start really looking into all of these things, you see how you are sabotaging your own life. It's this feeling that I need to be perfect. I need to have this happen. I need to get there. And if I don't, something bad is going to happen. But again, we don't know what that bad thing is and no one tells us. But we're very afraid of it. And it's very scary. Because if it happens, then, well, as I said, something bad is going to happen. But we don't know what that is. So chasing after knowledge or chasing after the perfect technique, the perfect teacher, all of those things are just dead ends. And it is, in my belief, it's the mind or the identity really finding back ways of nestling itself in and say like, oh yeah, no, it's okay. This is not like you analyzing or being, this is spiritual stuff. This is different. When you were trying to figure out how to become rich, get the perfect partner or the perfect body or whatever you were chasing after, that's bad. Don't do that. But this stuff, or you can think about this all day, watch YouTube videos like for hours and it will make you wise. You will find knowledge. Or you go to the special center and it's going to feel very special when you're there. And you're going to find something, I promise, if you just go there, there's going to be something really yummy there. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's going to be really yummy. And then you realize, oh, your life sucks. You should actually be there all the time. But if you were there all the time, you would realize that that's not how it is. So, yeah. I hope I haven't discouraged you from going there, because it is a really good idea to go to these retreats. You kind of need to see that. You can't just say to yourself, oh, don't do that. You need to do that and see how it hurts to do that. And there is a natural progression. I've seen literally thousands of people become spiritual and go through the same. Everyone does the same thing. It's like, someday I have to make a video about that, because it's really funny to see how everyone kind of starts out the same way and they start getting into maybe some what do you call it, the stars, I can't even remember, astrology, and then they start looking at crystals, and then they start looking into like meditation and yoga. They do that bit, and then if they really get bit by the bug, then they probably separate from their partner. They've been in a long-term life because that partner didn't understand me. Now I'm on this different path, and then they need to go out and save the world, and they need to go out and save the children and become a vegetarian or a vegan, if you're serious. Really serious, might be a fruitarian, like you just eat self-fallen fruit. And there are certain things that everyone goes through when they start meditating. And then they get really serious and they get into meditation and they start like communicating, and they look into auras. That's a big thing. You have to look for auras. You have to see that part. Everyone does the same thing. But we feel we're very special. But when you've seen, like I said, thousands of people, there's definitely patterns of what people go through. And if you're lucky, you will realize after a while that like none of this was really important. It was already there. Life, I didn't need to go anywhere. I never needed to hurt all those people to draw back from those things, and obviously stop drinking alcohol, like all those things. I was already there. I just didn't see it because I wasn't able to experience this world because of all these filters. So you can't just force yourself not to go through it. You kind of have to go through it. But if you do go through it with the knowledge of, it's not about the knowledge, it's about getting back to life. Does that make sense, Emily? Or, let's see. I started to meditate for anxiety reasons. Oh yes, absolutely. At the start I felt really special as well. But now I feel more connected to people because I do meditate. Perfect. It's that's also another angle. Many people feel bad, and this goes hand in hand. I think mental, I'm not going to say illness, but anxiety, stress, burnout, but also like bipolar, like all kinds of mental situations also bring people into the spiritual path, because that like they want to find help there. People with autism, ADHD, they want to cure themselves. So people who have gone into depression or anxiety and burnout, they've done that also. And meditation is really good for that. I mean, this is one thing that really works with that, is like there are meditation techniques that help with anxiety, for sure. Like you can do that. I'm just saying that like those things are very cause and effect. You can do certain breathing meditations, and they will help you with your anxiety. If you learn how to do mindfulness and be aware of what goes on inside of you, you will have less anxiety. If you do these things, it will help you with those things. But when you go beyond that, then it's not so much about knowledge. And even here, there's not so much you need to learn. Just do the techniques. You don't need to have 1,000 techniques. Just do whatever technique you want. And certain techniques are better for certain things, but in the end, it's not really that important. Yes, thank you very much. You're welcome. As I said, that would be the new angle a bit of the channel is, I don't even know what to call it, like the anti-spiritual ex-monk or something like that. Because I really believe that spirituality takes people away from life. I see so many people who are happy, joyous people, and then they became spiritual, and now all of a sudden they started ruining their life because, well, I can't just do this, I can't do that, and they start thinking about everything, and they stop eating meat, but not just because, oh, I want the animals, but no, because they feel bad about it. And they start having all these new ideas, and it makes it very difficult to be happy because you believe all these things, and you get into open relationships because, well, I need to work on my shadow side. I need to bring all these things up so I can develop myself. And you have these peak experiences then because you let go, and it feels so good to let go. Oh, I'm really in it now, and I'm really getting somewhere. I'm sure enlightenment is just a step away. And you ruin life. Like, you make it so difficult. I'm not talking about you specifically, but people make it so difficult to be happy to be alive because now they have these spiritual beliefs that kind of get in the way. And I've spoken to loads of people who have basically wrecked their mental state of mind because they got so caught up in spiritual stuff. Now it's no longer, oh, I just want to be happy. No, you need to make, like, you have your past life to worry about now and your future life and other dimensions and spirits guides and all these things you don't know. And it's just very difficult to be happy when you have all these beliefs kind of in the way. So spirituality many times brings people further away from life when it's supposed to bring you closer to life. Absolutely, spirituality makes you more aware of things. But the approach, I think, is many times destructive and negative when it could be something very positive and helpful if people would just let go of this whole drama or this whole story that they're on this path and I'm like going there. And I've done this myself. So if you feel offended or struck by this, I've been there, trust me. Fortunately, I was a monk when I did this, so I could focus my whole life on that. And I also had to follow certain rules, which meant that I couldn't go everywhere and do crazy stuff. Some people really go weird, like, and wreck their lives. Like, I've seen a lot of sad things. And there's a lot of people who have behavior that they motivate with their following their higher self or their spiritual path. And then it's just terrible for people around them. Incredibly selfish. But for them, they're being unselfish because they're healing the world. They're doing the right thing for their high being. So it's something I really believe strongly about, and that I think would be something that could be very helpful. Because absolutely I can talk about meditation, I can do all those things, and I have lots of knowledge and experience there as well, but it's not that complicated. Like, honestly, if you come to these evening meditation, you sit here and listen, like, there's not much more you need to know, and just do whatever technique you like and just keep on doing that one. It's fine. The problem is all the stuff that comes on around it that people start doing and weird stuff, and you need to do those things, but it's important you don't go too far on the side roads, that you don't wreck the lives of people around you and your own life. I totally agree. I had someone in my life who thought it was the way to go, and they suffered more because, and I'm telling you, I've seen countless people who have done this, and really, like, people who leave their families, grown-up people like my age, who are like, oh, I'm now going to go the spiritual path, and they leave their whole families and go away, and some places won't allow them to become monks, but they do that anyway. Other people just do whatever they want, and whatever their explanation for everything is, I'm following myself. You're oppressing me. You're not letting me be my higher self. I'm on this path. I need to do this. Or people just dumb stuff, kind of. There was one woman who, she was in debt, like $30,000 or something. Sorry, euros. And we stayed at her boyfriend's apartment for a while. And she had this calling that she was going to go to India and oh no, it was Bali or India, and do a yoga retreat because she was going to become a yoga teacher. And she had this whole story about why she had to go there and meet this teacher. And in Sweden we call them kronofogden, and in America it's IRS, like the people who come and take your stuff because you haven't paid your bills. And like I said, I think she had like 30,000 euros in debt. So what does she do? She takes out a loan, at like a telephone loan for 10,000 euros, and goes off to India or Bali and kind of just flies out of the country and goes there to study yoga. And I'm like, yeah, you just didn't learn anything. Well, I'm on my higher path. I need to do this, kind of. So, yeah, don't be dumb. Like, just keep a little bit of sensibility with you and try all these strange things which make a lot of sense, and some of them do really help. That's not what I'm saying. But just keep your feet there's a saying, keep your feet on the ground and your brushes in the sky, kind of. Like, make sure you don't fall away too far. When I started this, my thought was, have you had anything, or do you have anything about your meditation that you've been wondering about, or something that you've been wanting to discuss that we could, because we have a few more minutes. We're going to start the meditation very soon. The whole idea is that we'll do it at the same kind of timeline as before, so we'll just start half an hour earlier, and then we'll start the meditation soon. I'm sure others will drop in during the meditation today instead of during the discussion, which they might expect. If not, that's fine as well. See, I still struggle with unguided meditation, and I can't really do them without someone talking. How can I change that? What is it about unguided? Well, like, what do you do when you do unguided meditation, and what about it is it that's difficult to do? Do you do some kind of technique, or I can say some of the things that help when you're doing unguided. First thing, get a timer. I have this one. It's like a tank vibrating, driving by. It vibrates so hard. Have some kind of timer. In other words, decide how long you're going to sit before you sit. Don't just sit down, I'm going to sit until I'm ready. Later on, when you're more proficient and you know what you're doing, absolutely, that's what I do. I never set a timer anymore. I just sit, and then I'm done when I'm done. And it can be 15, 20 minutes, but more likely it's going to be half an hour to an hour, like anywhere in there. Very rarely do I sit more than an hour. But in the beginning, it really helps to have a timer, and you set a time. I'm going to sit this long, and I will sit down until this time is over. Make sure you trust the timer, because otherwise you're going to be sitting and you go like this. So I'm sitting and I'm doing my technique. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, 5 minutes, and I'm going to sit 20 minutes. And you sit and you do technique. Oh yeah, I've sat such a long time now. It must be at least 20. I think the clock might have missed. Like, what? 7 minutes? What the heck? Not. God damn it. And then you keep on watching, and you have this distortion towards the timer. So have a time, choose it. Next is have a technique that you're going to do. Don't just sit down and freestyle. Again, later on, absolutely can do that. But especially, and when I say later on, I mean after you've had 10,000 hours or a few thousand hours of meditation at least. So you're really proficient. When you feel like that's or you will just feel it. So in the beginning, just don't worry about it. Choose a technique and do that technique. Don't skip too many different techniques. Choose something you like and feel comfortable with. And you can absolutely have like, I tried this one on this time, and then I tried that one. But jumping within the meditation can make it a bit difficult. So it's better to then choose, I'm going to do this technique, and then stick with that one. Other things you can do is to look at distractions. Make sure your phone is off. Make sure there's nothing that can interrupt you. Make sure your environment is ready for you sitting down, or whatever kind of meditation you're doing, for that amount of time that you've set. And when you have the space, you have the timer, you have your technique, then you sit down and then you start doing that technique, and you just do that. Well, other things are of course posture, but I include that in the environment. You need to know what to do when you're sitting down. What many people struggle with is that they sit down and nothing is happening. They're just sitting there, and it feels like, what am I doing here? I'm not getting anywhere. I can't focus on my breath. I can't do this. I can't do that. And so they believe they're bad. That's why I am a strong proponent of breathing meditation. And I have a few videos where I talk about why breathing meditation is genius, and then I describe how to do breathing meditation, because it's such a simple and very powerful technique to do. It's not complicated. If you do it, there are some really good rules to follow, and like, it's basically what we do now. The way you get good at that, and the way you gain concentration or samadhi, is that you just keep coming back over and over and over and over again to your breath. Doesn't matter how many times you drift away. In fact, the more times you notice that you're drifting away, the better you are at meditating. It's not about not drifting away, it's about noticing that you're drifting away. And the more skilled you are as a meditator, the more times you will notice that you drifted away. And the period that you drift away will become shorter. But that's, just things that change. So have those things, the timer, the space, the technique. Choose a simple technique. I highly recommend breathing meditation, like we'll do now, and keep coming back. Be kind to yourself. Don't think that you're failing. Realize that's just what you do. You just keep coming back over and over and over and over again. And when you do that, you redirect your mind, 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 redirect your mind. You just keep doing that over. Eventually, the mind will go, redirect your mind. Oh, I thought, redirect your mind, redirect your mind. And then it's just going to stick. That's called stickiness of the mind, or concentration, as it's called in meditation terms. The awareness just kind of sticks, and you just stay with the breath, and it doesn't require effort. If you have a simple technique like that, if you know what to expect, if you know how to do it, and the things to look for, and how to actually get to that point, it's easy to do it. But you need to have like these very, and it's not a lot of knowledge we're talking about. We're talking some very basic stuff. I'm actually, like, I have an outline for a meditation course teaching exactly that, because it is so simple, but you need to know very few things. And again, if you come here for the evening meditation, you'll understand them. It's simple. And then just do that. Does that, I'm not sure if it was a question really, but does that help you with what you would do when you do it unguided? Also, you can see what you're doing before and after. If you do a non-guided meditation directly after a really difficult phone call, maybe then your mind is too spread out everywhere to actually focus on the meditation. So you can think about those things also, but that's just like, Was I completely off the topic? Do you already have this stuff down and it's still difficult? Or did some of that kind of point you in the direction to go? I'm actually going to start. Say someone talking. I tried it with YouTube videos. I'll try it with the timer, like you said. I think the YouTube video made me look at the time more. Okay. Yeah. And like I said, I will make it. It's also, some people have an easier time because you get used to it. If you keep listening to guided meditations like that, you'll train your mind to like, that's how I do meditation. But it's also like something you just get familiar with. I would sit, like when I was meditating, I did anywhere from 8 to 15 hours per day. And if you do that long enough, it's just like you cannot not do meditation. I literally cannot stop meditating as soon as I close my eyes and sit down cross-legged. Something just physiologically changes in my body. I have a chest strap that measures my heart rate variability, and as soon as I cross my legs, that goes up. I get in the meditation. So it's a matter of getting used to it, and you've gotten used to doing it with the things you're listening to, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. If that works for you, just keep doing that. I mean, why not? But eventually you will learn how to do it the other way also. Cool. Nice chat, and like, since it's a bit different time today, I'm, like I said, people drop in later, and I really enjoyed this conversation though. It was a bit different to focus on this, and it is the direction that the channel will go more in the future, because it's what I believe is the most useful thing that I can share, and helping people see how simple it is to do this stuff, that it doesn't have to be this complicated journey, that you don't have to completely space out and do all kinds of like crazy stuff, which makes a lot of sense when you're in that scene, but when you go out of it, you're like, what on earth was I doing? So that will be the direction more. But I also enjoy things like this to make it simple. How do I do that? And then have very clear advice for that. Yeah, I agree. Thank you. I appreciate it. So let's do if people are joining and looking at this later, then we have the conversation before. After that, we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. And then today will be a guided meditation. I will do it a bit more towards since you want to learn how to do it by yourself. Today I will do it a bit more with the breathing and talk a bit more about the technique, so that when you do it yourself, you will have a bit more of the things that you need to bring that with you, and that will be for other people watching as well. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique is a way of bringing awareness back to our senses. It's actually a technique that's used, I've used it several times with people who had panic attacks, because it really brings you back if you're lost in your thoughts. That's why I do it before the meditation, because it's a good technique to come back to here if you're off in your thoughts. And I won't go into too much detail of it, because we've actually carried on a bit longer than I was expecting. But the way we do is we say out loud 5 things we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. And I'll say them out loud, you say them out loud your end on 5 things you can see, and then after that we'll sit for 20 minutes. Oh, I just realized my bell is gone. I had my kids here the other day. I have a painting they did for me, but I have no bell. Let's see. I need to tell them not to move my stuff when they're in here. Wait, sorry about this. I should have looked for that before. Okay, well, I'll do instead of having the meditation bell, it'll be like this today. So it will be a little bit different. That's a bit of a shame. Yeah, that's okay. So, 5 things that I can see. I was going to say, I can see that there's no bell here, but I don't need this, because it's not something I see. It should be something I can see. I can see a pair of socks. I can see a computer screen. I see a pair of glasses. I see a pair of keys. And I see a fire extinguisher. I think there was 5 things that I could see. Next we take 4 things that we can feel. I can feel my legs. I can feel the tripod for my microphone. I can feel this metal cylinder. And I can feel the carpet. there was 4 things that I could feel. Next, we take 3 things that we can hear. I can hear the fan of my computer. I can hear the breath through my left nostril. I can hear some kind of ticking up in the office ceiling. There's 3 things that I could hear. Next, 2 things that I can smell. I can smell citrus. And I can smell a bit of sweat. Next, 1 thing that we can taste. Taste a bit of bad breath. So for this meditation, I want you to put yourself in a comfortable position. A place and a position where you feel safe, where you feel that it's going to be okay to sit down or lie down or stand up for the next 20 minutes. And after that, I want you to start focusing on your breath. Now, we're not looking for a specific feeling of the breath. It's more an awareness of breath happening. We're being aware the breath is moving around. We don't need to feel the sensation of breath hitting the nostrils and coming down and really going tiny and looking. Instead, we're looking for a wide awareness. Awareness that something is happening. In other words, we're aware of the breath moving around. For some people, this can be really strong. For others, it might be very difficult because they can't feel any sensations and they're not really sure what to look for. So just look for a wide feeling of breathing. And then relax into that. We're not trying to get a strong feeling of I am here and I am watching breath. Instead, breath is just happening. We're not doing breath work. We're not trying to control the breath, making it go faster, slower, deeper, more shallow. Instead, breath will just do what breath is doing right now. Sometimes that will be fast and sometimes it will be slow. Whatever happens is what happens. We're not trying to control the breath. We're trying to release the breath and observe what it does. One of the main advantages of observing the breath is that it's always with you. It will always be there and it can never disappear as long as you're alive. So in other words, you have this tool with you, carrying it around. One of the purposes is to train your mind through bhavana to become strong and pliable, to be able to observe what's going on inside and outside of you. Another way that we can use is that it will show you what's going on inside of you. In other words, we both sharpen the axe, but we also get insight into what's happening inside of us. So if you are aware of your breath and you're constantly observing it, then you will notice that when you go into a difficult conversation, all of a sudden the breath starts jumping around. It will move erratically and you can't really control it or keep it under control, calm, no matter what you do. And you will see that you're stressed. Sometimes you will go somewhere and you will just see that something feels off. You just feel bad. So the breath can be a good indicator for how you're distorting towards the world around you, how you're relating to the world around you. Doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's bad. It just means you're observing it. To make it a little bit easier to do this, we will count the breath in a special technique where we count from 1 to 8 and then down again from 8 to 1. When we do the count, we put it at the end of the breath. So it will be an in-breath and out-breath, 1. And the reason we do that is because when I was meditating, I noticed that when I drifted off into my thoughts, it almost always did so in the pause of the breath. Because breathing is not in, out, in, out, in, out. Breath is usually in, a short pause as you turn around, and then out, and a pause. And then a new in-breath, short turnaround, and then out-breath, and a pause. And it's in that pause that the mind comes in and pulls you away. So by putting the number there, it makes it easier to not drift into our thoughts. Now breathing in, well, I'll do it together with you once and then you can continue doing it by yourself. Breathing in and out. 1. In and out. 2. In and out. 3. In and out. 4. In and out. 5. In and out. 6. In and out. 7. In and out. 8. In and out. 7. In and out. 6. In and out. 5. In and out. 4. In and out. 3. In and out. 2. In and out. 1. Now keep counting your breath, going from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1. As you breathe in and out. 1. In and out. If you want to fail at meditation, if you want to be really poor at meditating, the best way to do so is to judge yourself, is to be hard on yourself, to criticize yourself for not being able to count your breaths, getting upset when things don't calm down, being angry at your mind for not doing what you wanted to do. Most of all, thinking that everyone else is probably really good at this, but me, I cannot do this meditation. Those are some of the best ways of really ruining your experience. Be kind to yourself. Be accepting. Realize that the easier of a time that you have with getting lost in your thoughts and understanding that you got lost and being okay with that so that you can come back and start observing the breath again. The quicker your mind will calm down, the better you will feel because you're no longer in conflict with yourself. Instead, you just realize that your mind is active and it runs away. And then you keep coming back to the breath over and over and over again as you breathe in and out. 1. In and out. after you've been sitting and counting your breath for a while, if you feel ready for it, it's perfectly fine to stop the counting. The counting is simply a way to hold stronger onto the breath with awareness. Once your mind calms down enough, there's no need to keep on counting the breath. So instead, let go, relax, and just be aware. And sit the last few minutes with awareness of breath going in and out, and just see what happens inside of you. Thank you for a nice sitting, and sorry about the bell being a bit strange today. I hope you have a pleasant week, and we'll be back on Thursday. The new times we'll get some getting used to, of course. I understand that people have schedules. Hopefully it will be fine like this also. Have a good week, and I will see you back on Thursday. Thank you.